What Ferrari just did should not exist in modern Formula One. Because while every team is restricted, limited, and constantly monitored, Ferrari found a way to run their car, in real conditions, for over 200 kilometers, without breaking a single rule. And here's the part that should worry the entire grid. They didn't just test the car. They trained Hamilton. They refined a system that could eliminate drag completely on straights. And they did it on a private track that no other team on Earth can access. Not Mercedes. Not Red Bull. No one. This isn't just an upgrade. It's a structural advantage. A hidden weapon built inside the rules that could be worth tenths per lap every single race. But the real reason this changes everything is what Ferrari discovered during those laps. Because once you understand that, you realize Miami might already be decided. It looked like a routine test. Nothing special. Just another quiet day at Fiorano, Ferrari's private circuit, hidden right next to the factory, where no cameras are allowed unless Ferrari wants them there. And that's exactly why this matters. Because while the rest of the world saw a simple tire test, Ferrari saw an open door. A legal window. A moment where the rules still allowed something incredibly rare. Real track time. In modern Formula One, that is almost impossible. Testing is banned. Track access is limited. Every lap is controlled, counted, restricted. But Pirelli tire tests are different. They sit in a gray area. Teams can run their current car. They can put drivers in real conditions. They can complete full race distances in a single day. And Ferrari didn't hesitate. They sent Lewis Hamilton out. Lap after lap. In artificially created wet conditions. Not random rain. Controlled rain. Water levels adjusted. Grip levels repeated. The same corner, the same braking zone, again and again. This wasn't just driving. This was calibration. Because when a driver repeats the exact same condition enough times, something changes. Reactions become instinct. Corrections become automatic. And confidence starts to build in places where hesitation used to exist. And that's critical. Because last season, Hamilton didn't trust the car. Not fully. There were moments of doubt. Moments where the rear felt unpredictable. Moments where braking stability wasn't there. Now imagine fixing that, not with theory, but with repetition. Dozens of laps. Then dozens more. Until the car stops feeling like a machine, and starts feeling like an extension of the driver. That's what Ferrari was building. Quietly. Systematically. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because while Hamilton was out there, adapting to the car in real conditions, something else was happening at the exact same time. Inside Maranello, Charles Leclerc was in the simulator, working on Miami. Corner by corner. Setup by setup. 2 drivers. 2 environments. 1 objective. And this is where Ferrari's system becomes impossible to copy. Because it's not just about having a simulator. Every team has one. It's about synchronization. Real-world feedback from Fiorano, feeding directly into simulator adjustments. Simulator predictions, influencing what the driver feels on track the next day. A continuous loop. No delays. No travel. No compromise. And suddenly, what looked like a simple test, becomes something much more powerful. A closed development cycle. Running in real time. But there's one detail that almost no one is talking about. And once you see it, everything starts to connect. Because Ferrari didn't choose wet conditions by accident. They forced them. Artificially. And that changes everything. Because wet conditions exaggerate instability. They expose weaknesses faster. They punish hesitation. If a system is not perfect, the rain will reveal it immediately. So why would Ferrari willingly test there? Why risk it? Unless they were trying to solve a very specific problem. A problem that only appears when grip is unpredictable. A problem that becomes critical under braking. And a problem directly connected to the most controversial upgrade on their car. The one they still haven't fully revealed. That hidden problem has a name inside Ferrari. They don't call it a failure. They call it instability. And it appears in the worst possible moment. Right when the driver hits the brakes. Because the moment a Formula One car goes from full speed to heavy braking, everything depends on rear stability. If the rear is planted, the car is predictable. If it isn't, the driver loses confidence instantly. And this is exactly where Ferrari's most ambitious idea started to fall apart. The rotating rear wing. The system everyone now calls the Macarena. On the straight, it's almost perfect. The wing rotates. Not opens. Rotates. Until it becomes nearly parallel to the airflow. Which means almost zero drag. Almost zero resistance. The car just slices through the air. Faster than anything using a conventional system. But then comes the braking zone. And everything changes. Because the wing has to come back. It has to rotate again. From that low drag position, back to full downforce. And it has to do it instantly. Not almost instantly. Instantly. Because at those speeds, even a fraction of a second delay is too much. And in the first version, that delay existed. Small, but enough. Enough to create a moment where the rear of the car felt light, unstable, disconnected. And for a driver, that's unacceptable. It doesn't matter how fast the car is on the straight. If you can't trust it under braking, you can't push. So Ferrari made a decision. They didn't race it. They pulled it back. They went silent. And this is where Fiorano becomes the center of everything. Because solving that problem is not just about redesigning parts. It's about timing, precision, synchronization between software, mechanics, and driver input. The wing must rotate faster, but not too aggressively. It must return smoothly, but not slowly. It must react differently depending on the corner. And that requires something most teams simply don't have. Endless repetition in controlled conditions. Same braking point. Same speed. Same scenario. Again. And again. And again. Until the transition becomes invisible. Until the driver no longer feels it. And this is why the artificial rain matters even more. Because under low grip, that instability becomes obvious. Amplified. Impossible to hide. If the system fails, the car will tell you immediately. So every lap Hamilton completed in those conditions wasn't just testing. It was stress testing. Pushing the system to its limit. Looking for the exact moment where it breaks. And more importantly, the exact moment where it finally works. But here's the part that takes this to another level. Because fixing the mechanics is only half of the equation. The other half is software. Ferrari didn't just redesign the wing. They reprogrammed how it thinks. Now the system doesn't react the same way everywhere. It adapts. On long straights, maximum rotation. On light braking zones, controlled return. On heavy braking zones, aggressive recovery to full downforce. Corner by corner. Situation by situation. And suddenly, the weakness becomes a strength. But only if everything works perfectly. And that's the risk. Because if it doesn't, the consequences are immediate. Loss of rear grip. Loss of control. Race over. So Ferrari is walking a very fine line. Between innovation and instability. Between dominance and disaster. And everything they did at Fiorano was building toward one moment. One test. One final validation. Where this system would appear, not in secret, but in front of everyone. And that moment is closer than most people think. Because the next time this car hits the track, it won't be for testing. It will be to prove whether this idea was genius. Or a risk too big to survive. That moment is not just another test day. It's the filming day at Monza. And on paper, it sounds harmless. Just 200 kilometers. Demo tires. Limited running. Nothing that should change the balance of power in Formula 1. But that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Because when teams only get 200 kilometers, every single lap becomes a decision. Every corner becomes intentional. There is no room for experimentation. Only execution. And Ferrari has already chosen what matters most. Not the full package. Not the easy gains. One thing. The second version of the rotating rear wing. Which tells you everything. Because out of all the upgrades, all the improvements, all the areas they could validate, they chose this. The riskiest system on the car. The one that could give them an edge or cost them everything. And that decision reveals something deeper. Ferrari believes this works. Not in theory. Not in simulation. On track. Under pressure. At speed. But here's where it gets even more intense. Because Monza is not just any circuit. It's speed. Pure speed. Long straights. Heavy braking zones. Exactly the conditions where this system matters most. And also, where it can fail the hardest. If the rotation is too slow, they lose time. If the return is unstable, they lose control. If the timing is off by even a fraction, the entire lap falls apart. So this is not just a validation. It's a confrontation. Between design and reality. And for the first time, Ferrari won't be able to hide it. Because even in a filming day, people are watching. Data leaks. Footage appears. Engineers from other teams start asking questions. Comparing onboard clips. Analyzing speed traces. Looking for something unusual. And if Ferrari's car behaves differently on the straights, if it gains even a small but consistent advantage, the entire paddock will notice. Immediately. But there's another layer here. One that makes this even more critical. Because this is the last step before Miami. No more private testing. No more controlled environments. No more repetition. After Monza, it becomes real. Race weekend. full pressure. No second chances. And that changes how Ferrari approaches every single kilometer of that filming day. They are not just testing performance. They are testing trust. Can the driver commit under braking? Can he push without hesitation? Can he rely on the car when everything happens at once? Because if the answer is no, even slightly, they won't use it, no matter how fast it looks on paper. And this is where everything connects back to Fiorano. Every lap in the rain, every repeated braking zone, every adjustment to the system, all of it was building toward this moment. To arrive at Monza, not with questions, but with answers. And yet, there's still something missing. Because even if the wing works perfectly, even if the system is flawless, even if Ferrari unlocks that straight-line speed advantage, it still won't be enough on its own. Because there is another limitation in the car. Less visible, less talked about, but even more important over a full lap. A weakness that has been there since the first race. And a weakness that, if not fixed, could completely neutralize everything they've built so far.